Stocks rebounded today as we saw some green off of support as people either exited their short positions, i.e. their puts, or they begin to buy the dip. Let's talk about, is this a retest to come lower, or is this a reclaim? And next week going into Thanksgiving, we're going to get spurs higher and bulls are going to step back in and reclaim some key levels. All right. What's going on, everybody? My name is Dr. B. Hopefully you're absolutely doing well on this Friday. You traded well this week and you had an amazing green week. If not, if this week was too volatile for you, back and forth, if you're a newbie, I definitely understand, as a lot of the videos on the channel, if you've been checking them out, hopefully they've been helping you. If you do choose to take a step further and want to learn either with some one-on-one support from myself and or join Leverage University, which is our Discord platform, the links are down below. We have our Black Friday deal going on right now. Type in Black Friday at checkout. All right. You're also more than welcome to message me on our WAP platform and we'll respond if you do have any questions. All right. Without further ado, let's jump into it today and give you my synopsis of this week and what you should look forward to next week. If you enjoyed last video last week talking about that dead cat bounced, I see some similarities and I don't want to piss any people off here. All right. Like, Brian, come on now, man. Really? We're not buying a dip again. Okay. So let me make a disclaimer. This is a difference between trading and investing. Okay. If you bought the dip via shares, okay, you bought some shares of Bitcoin, you bought a little bit of your Meta, you bought some other tech stocks, you bought the S&P 500. I'm not saying anything about buying the dip, dollar cost averaging on long term. I'm talking about those that are trading, wanting to make income, options, so on and so forth. Is, can I swing long option calls? I'll show you the reasoning, maybe why to hold off for just a second. All right. So let's jump into it today and give you a synopsis of the week. All right. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, turn on those notifications. That's really helping out the channel. Thank you so much for the support. All right. Really quickly, what spurred the market a little bit higher today? We have two things. One is that, like I said previously, the exit of liquidity to the downside. So if you were in put options all week, today was OPEX, options expiration day. Everyone that was in put options this week and you were profitable, you probably exited those put options in profit, right? So that signals a spur in a reversal, such as a short squeeze, which we had towards the middle of the morning. All right. Now, I talked about this last time. I'll show you in the charts in just a second. Now, the second thing is that we had kind of a positive data report today that kind of gave the market a little bit of uplift, which is our PMI numbers. Okay. Our PMI numbers suggested that we were above 50 expansion in the sector, generally positive for stocks in the economy, right? Below 50 contraction, typically negative. So if we look here on the PMI numbers, right, previous October, 52.5, roughly around the same. So roughly no change, but still above 50, so on and so forth. Just wanted to mention that for you for the fundamentals if you're not too much into reading economic data, things of that nature. So there was two roughly things. Technicals, everyone exiting, maybe some buyers stepping back in. If you played call options today, that's awesome. You won. But do you swing and hold call options? I want to show you that on the chart. So let's jump into the charts and I want to show you candle structure and candle locations. Let's jump on the SPY and I want you to look here. We're going to look on the daily like we did last time. Okay, we got our daily candles here. All right, let me clear the chart up because I know I have newbies on here that are not too familiar with the charts. I am using Webull personally. You're more than welcome to follow along on your Robinhood charts. Looks the same. Okay. Now, I've got a clear look here on the SPY. Okay. And if you trade futures or if you look at futures, I'm very well aware of that as well. So I'll mention futures as well, some levels on there. We've got this lower high set here. So as long as we get a lower high set on a higher time frame, such as a daily, even if we check out the week closed even with a lower low. Okay. So we have not printed a reclaim higher low yet back above that tariff high. Okay. So I'll mark that tariff high for you right here. And for those that are squinting, let me zoom in just a little bit. Okay. Right there. Okay. So this 673.80 or 673.50, if you want to round it up to 674, I like to draw zones. So this whole zone from that candle, that weekly candle, is still putting downward pressure on the overall market. So look top down, just like we look top down here, is that we still had very bullish weekly candles. Even if we had a dip, very bullish weekly candles. Now we've kind of changed the direction a little bit, and these weekly candles are starting to still press on the lows. So if you look from the top down weekly candle, we could still set a technical lower high, even if we got a rebound all the way back up here and we're back up at 677, right? That can still set a lower high and we get slammed back down. Okay. I'm getting ahead of myself, so I'm not going to talk in that manner right now because I know a lot of people are bullish and they do not like to see red. They don't want to hear any more pain. I get that. I'm with you. Okay. So I want you to look at this weekly, all right? And that is a set for understanding that there's still downward pressure. So when we talk about, you saw the thumbnail, retest versus reclaim, I'm going to talk about the retest, okay? So let's look at candle structure. Candle structure right here on this daily looks very similar to when I talked about that dead cat bounce right here, okay? This is the bottom, pick up the dip. We're going back to all-time highs. That candle does not look like this candle, okay? That candle does not look like this candle, all right? So you're pressing on new equal lows, plus you have an engulfing candle, right? So the stocks and the indexes do not go down in a straight line, right? So there's always going to be a big flush, and then anyone that's late to the party is going to jump into puts and say, man, today puts. And then we come back up and you're like, oh my gosh. Like, and then you're like, oh, calls. And then we go right back down. Right. So it's break and retest, break and retest. And you're stair stepping your way up in a bullish market or in a bullish trend. And you stair step your way down in a downward trend or a bearish trend. Okay. So what we have now in the short term is we have bearish breaks, retest, break, retest, break. Okay. So as always, if you're new to this channel, I always say that I'm trying to just help people, support people, tell them the truth, tell them the reality, and then what is kind of swaying the market. Because if I came on here and said, this is the bottom, right, I'd be doing a disservice, in my opinion. Now, like I said, long-term investing, buy your shares, buy some dips, nibble, keep going, dip into to the cash and buy a little bit. That's okay. But trading call options, swinging them, okay? You could have traded call options like, Brian, I traded call options today, I won. Yeah, because today was a retest day, right? After yesterday's drop, we were probably going to have a green day based off the VIX and based off of the overall chart, okay? So this candle looks very similar to our dead cat bounce last Friday. So am I expecting more pain? I'll answer it right now. Yeah, a little bit more. Bro, Brian, where's your bottom level that we go to next? 640, right? If we break a new low next week, we've got to break the low, but that high volume node around 640 is my next target that the market ideally wants to gravitate to. It doesn't have to do it when you want it to. It doesn't have to do it when I want it to, but ideally that's where they're trying to take it. Okay. So another week of pain potentially, right? And then we shall see. Cool. That is roughly, in my opinion, right? And doesn't have to right away, but that is roughly, close to that 10% quote unquote correction. Down to that 640 range, I think we'll have a bigger rebound off of there, in my opinion. Okay. But I trade day to day, in and out. In my opinion, this is a day trader's market. It's not necessarily a swing trader's market. It's a buy the dip for long-term shares. But if you're swing trading, unless you caught puts up here and you're holding and you're swinging puts down, you're swinging puts down, you're swinging puts down, great. But if you're trying to swing call options and you wake up the next day and we're down, I'd be very careful. I'd be very careful. Okay. We have not definitively had a bottom just yet. The market's about to close, as you can see here, in the next 8 minutes. So I'm watching how the candle closes. I watch the market 3 times during the day. I trade for the first hour and a half to 2 hours. I mark my levels in the middle of the day. Maybe I take a little scalp if I see something, and then I'm done for the day. I may look at power hour, look at the afternoon, just to see if what levels, how we're trending, how we're trading, how the candle's looking. And right now, what I'm seeing is it's looking very similar to that dead cat bounce last time. Looking very similar. Okay. So I'll go through. Everyone got my gist. You get my thesis, right? You're understanding where I'm coming from. So I don't come on here and, what I've heard around the streets is just like, stop fear mongering, stop clickbaiting, all this kind of stuff. And I don't do that, right? I'm trying to educate. That's all I do on here is educate. So I want you to mark this level here. Okay. I want to mark 661 and I like to mark my 663. Okay. 661 and 663. If you want to drag this whole zone right here, it's pretty big. So it's about a $2 zone, right? That is our retest zone that I was watching for today inside of our Discord. Okay. And I put it here in the watch list this morning. And we had watching the 660 level, but even up into 662. Resistance 660, 662. Now we can go above it a little bit. We, retrace pretty good back up into 664, but I wanted to see how we closed, right? I've got a support of 653 for right now. That is our bottom. If we break that, 640 is in sight. Okay. So right now, what I'm seeing is we're rejecting. We did not close this candle very strong like this one. So again, this area of a retest, right? Break a key level, retest it, and take it down to the C leg, down to the next leg. Okay. So I think there's one more little, drop of pain in the short term. I think there'll be a bigger recovery once we develop more of a capitulation bottom. I do not think this is a capitulation bottom just yet. Capitulation bottom typically looks a little bit more panicky. It's like in April, panicky like this, right? That's a little bit much, but maybe down to 640, down into this zone. That to me is a little bit more capitulation. Okay, cool. Maybe we can rebound a little bit bigger from there. All right. But this right here, still break, retest, 663. Looks like we might close underneath 660 today, right? So I suspect next week bears will probably try to, unless we have some good news over the weekend, right? So if you come back to this video, it's like, this dude's all wrong. We reclaimed, we got back up. That's where the reclaim piece comes in. So I'll get to that next. All right. Bears are going to try to retest that low and take out that low and come down to 640. Okay, we're good on SPY. So look at the candle structure, candle location. Structure tells me indecision, more sellers coming in. Again, towards the end of the market, profit taking. It does not look like this candle. It looks more like last Friday's candle, right? If we take out this low at 652, we're falling to 640. Cool, got me? All right, Qs. We know that big tech is a little bit weaker. So as we can see that this is underneath the tariff high, and that we're coming down a little bit more drastically than SPY, right? SPY is roughly at the equal tariff high. Qs are underneath it. This candle engulfed these entire last four candles, and then we're taking out that tariff low. As you can see right there, barely holding on. So we know that tech semis are a little bit more weak, but we came down into a very key level today, which was 580. Okay, so this was a technical retest level right here at 580 that we ticked down into. However, again, candle structure and location. The location is still underneath 600 and underneath 591. Okay. It's underneath 600 and underneath this 591 level. Okay. 591, I'm marking from this previous low here that we kind of bounced off of, and we're closing back underneath it. So that candle is, again, indecision, but more so weak in the close here. All right. That candle, in my opinion, if I'm in the futures market, which I do trade futures as well, on Sunday, we'll probably have a little pop, maybe a little, fade. And then, if there's no positive news over the weekend, I think by Monday into Thanksgiving, more profit taking will come and we'll start fading and trying to take out that low. All right. Man, we're getting back below, 659. All right. If we look a little bit closer, there it is. All right. Whole move back up, short squeeze, and then rotating back down. All right. Let's look at IWM. IWM, the level I was looking at today is this daily 100. So if I turn on my moving averages, we're technically closing above the daily 100. But again, candle location in this case, right? Candle structure is, above that daily moving average, this blue right here, right? But still, we're underneath this tariff low. You see where we had a big rejection. There's a big support. So previous support becomes resistance. Okay. So if I see it come off of this 236, 237 a little bit more and fall back underneath 235, then I'm pretty sure it's going to start retesting this low, right? I've got a bottom in range on IWM back down to 225. Okay. Just tell you that right now. I've got a bottom in range on IWM. That's if we clear these levels, and it will take time. And if there's no positive catalysts that come in, right, then I suspect that this will be a little bear flag consolidation underneath these lows. And then we start flipping and rolling back to 225 if we take back out 230. Okay. So it would look something like that for my visual people. Okay. And there's a little gap down there as well. All right. My bottom end range, in my opinion, if we have some massive selling next week or massive profit taking going into Thanksgiving, right, I see 220. All right. So there's IWM. Let's look at some of the techs that are going to solidify a little bit more. We had a nice recovery today, but let's look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is closing underneath 180 today. We got 3 minutes left. It's not going to reclaim, in my opinion. So we got NVIDIA closing underneath this level. I keep reiterating that my bottom end range on NVIDIA is down into 150. And it's headed right towards that target. That is the first pit stop, is roughly around 150. Okay. So I every pop is going to get rejected, unfortunately, and people are just going to start losing confidence. And when it gets down here, right, then everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, it's done. And then it bounces at 150. So I think personally that 150 is a great target. We might have a little pit stop before there. We've got some stops at 163. We got some stops that are around even psychological at 160, right? In this range, we got 170. There's some buyers sitting in there. So I don't think we're flush right away, but that's my bottom end target, short term, 150. All right. So watch these moving averages. You see they're starting to cross, right? When you start crossing these 9 EMAs, start crossing those moving averages, they start crossing. It's like a wave pressing down on the stock. Okay. So now we're underneath, or we're going to close underneath this high volume node of 181, 180. And we can continue to press on that low and come down into 167. Right. So NVIDIA, that's giving me a little bit more potential confidence that we have lower, is that the respective stocks in the S&P and also in the NASDAQ are still having lower. Look at AMD, semis, right? Had a nice decent recovery up and then starting to roll and potentially fail. All right. Look at that candle right there on that 4 hour. That is not a big bullish candle. Okay. If you know candle structure, no candle location, does that look like a big bullish candle to you? No, just because it's green does not mean it's bullish. Okay. So rotating and filling that gap. There's my gap fill right there on AMD. So lower on more semis. With this big engulfing candle here on MU, right? That's a nice little, hold there on MU. I think it had a bigger retracement than many others, but still not a big bullish move back up. It's just a retest. And then I think rolling back over, but there's that. AVGO, it has a gap. Okay. This is looking a little bit more double topish, triple topish, a lot of heavy, resistance up here. AVGO can roll back over. So more semis, heavy in NASDAQ, right? Google, very strong. The strongest stock in the market right now. I'm just going to give it its flowers. I've been shorting Google. I'll tell you that right now. It sounds crazy to some of y'all, but my risk to reward up here, many of the stocks have fallen. I'm not a momentum chasing type of person. I'm more of a pop. Give me my stop loss where I know exactly where it is and I've got room to the downside. And many of these are just falling and falling and falling, but that's just my opinion. But I've been absolutely killing Google. There's been some community members that have been killing Google, just pops. And then 100% we took today, right? 100% trade we took today on Google. If you took any other semis, we had community members that took semis. They were all great. Okay. So I think, Google will start to, in my opinion, based off of these types of candles up here, still needs some failures. But if Google starts rotating and failing back underneath 290, right? I'm not saying it's going to, I'm not saying it's going to fail. I'm just saying that, potentially Google can roll over and get a little bit exhausted up here with that big engulfing candle. And this starts to look like AMD, right? AMD was looking very similar to that up here, right? Very similar to that, broke structure. It started just getting exhausted, right? In my opinion, it's a little bit early to tell, but I like I said before, I see the downside very well. And if Google starts rolling out of this trend, right, and breaking that previous low of 290, then Google can start getting and trying to retest some of these lows if the market also pulls back even more. All right. So Google, strongest stock. Be careful shorting it. Not suggesting it. I like the look of it. I like the look of it. All right. Amazon, still weak in my opinion. Underneath 227. Okay. I like this big engulfing candle here, that big breakdown underneath 227, right? So any pop underneath there, 227, 230, we need a reclaim. Okay. So let me talk about that really quick, because I think Amazon looks, pretty decent on what a reclaim would look like. So just say Amazon, I'm not saying, again, pick up shares, so on and so forth. If you want to pick up long dated calls, that's fine, just in case, but do you? A reclaim would be a big bullish push up above there, and then you pull back and hold 230, 233, right? So you get a big drive back above the level that would squeeze out everyone that's short. And that's what we call a break and retest reclaim. It reclaimed a very key level of support. See this? Big push, pull back, hold, and then go higher. Okay. Maybe a little bit here, break, pull back, hold, 227, higher. There's a previous resistance, break back above there, hold, 227, 230, start rotating higher. Okay. So that is what we call a reclaim. That's what I want to see if I am going to get bullish on holding call options throughout the day and see continuation. Otherwise, it just pops, fades, right? And if you can catch a little bit of a call, that's cool, but pops, fades. All right. Cool. So Palantir, same thing. This weekly candle, I've got a low down like 130s on Palantir. Okay. 130s on Palantir potentially. Your level right now is this consolidation underneath 170, 169. Okay. That is your retest level. So we could pop all the way back up to 166, 167. You catch that call back up. We're in support, as you can see. We're in support. So if you catch calls on Palantir, this is your range / box. 150, 155, sits here, starts curling. All right. See that MACD start curling. All right. Still, the MACD, in my opinion, is still underneath. Not even my opinion. You're showcasing it. Still rejecting. Still not really curling on a 4-hour, not curling on a daily, still crossing on a weekly. So if you haven't watched my RSI MACD video, right, still see those crosses, still see that yellow line underneath the signal line, right? There's a little cross right there. So that's where you got that little pop, right? But it's still not significant on a 4-hour, daily, weekly. All right. So I can keep going through all of these different ones, but I wanted to get this video out because I want you to have like a mindset of being already prepared. So I don't have a bias necessarily. I don't have like, oh, this is going to happen, but I have a sentiment, right? And the sentiment today, based off this close, did not give me really bullish just yet. So I can go into next week and be like, okay, I've got my levels. I already kind of know the sentiment. I feel it. I feel the market. I watched the close on Friday. I'm ready for the day. Versus someone saying, man, this is the bottom. This is the dip. This is going back to all-time highs. Buy the dip. I don't know what y'all talking about. And then they're not looking at a chart and not looking at price action. And we haven't reclaimed, right? So you can take small call scalps. I'm not saying that you can't do that, right? If we're in support, but holding call options until we reclaim some key levels, right? You look up, turn around. How's my call down when I was just green this morning? Okay. So I got a smile on my face. I'm saying it with love. Let me know down in the comments what you think is going to happen. I'd love to hear it, right? I'm just here to teach on a public platform and educate, giving an unbiased opinion on this and or that. Retest lower, or we pop and reclaim and we can go higher. All right. Thank y'all so much. Peace, love, and blessings. Until next time, make sure you take advantage of that Black Friday deal for Leverage University. If you have any questions, reach out on our WAP platform, message me. You're more than welcome. If you want to stay on YouTube streets, no pressure at all. I appreciate you. If these are helping you, let me know as well. It seems like they are. All right. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.